All right. Well, welcome to the program. Well, hey, we talk about Brexit and its position in destiny and prophecy. But let me ask you something, Erica. Years ago, they used to say, there's going to be 10 kingdoms, and they always said it's the EU. So when there was 10 of the European countries joined together, I mean, that was it. You might as well get ready to get raptured, get on out of here. It's over. Armageddon's coming. It's here. The beast, the king, and all that. But there's a whole lot more countries in that now. What happened to that prophetic message people had?
Oh, it's still there. The European Union is actually going to go forward with an inner core of the strongest members, and they're going to go forward politically, and most likely it's going to be 10. And what's interesting is that in a proposed treaty where it actually had a clause of these members going forward, the minimum number in the proposed treaty is 9. And we know from Bible prophecy the number is 10. But in the structure of the European Union, you'll have this inner core, and then all the other nations will be in the outer core, because we know from Bible prophecy it's an empire, and it's going to rule all of Europe and the Middle Eastern region.
Mm-hmm. How does the influx of Muslim immigrants into the EU fit into that?
It's causing a lot of problems right now. It actually contributed to Brexit. Mm-hmm. It's adding to the European Union just worked out a common border policy, their European Union Border and Coast Guard, which they're about to enact. So what it's doing is it's causing the EU to just further integrate. Mm. And it's also causing the right-wing parties who want the nations. It contributed to Brexit.
Mm. Let me ask you something. Do you think there was a sinister motive, say, behind all the Middle Eastern wars that the United States got in? I'm one to subscribe to the belief that we went in there and just blew up the Middle East. That caused a wave of immigration. Do you think there could have been such a sinister plot years ago to cause that to happen? Because after we blew up the Middle East, they all started flooding into the Western nations. Could that have been the plan all along?
I don't believe there was a sinister plot, but I believe there were some really big mistakes.
And who is there a person that you would ascribe these mistakes to? A policy? I'm looking for names here.
Started with the Bushes.
Okay. Yeah.
Going in Iraq.
Mm-hmm. So we can't lay that at the feet of Bill Clinton. I mean, we're going to start with the Bushes and move on. But we had a little boost, I guess you could say, at 9/11, which happened on George Bush's watch. Now, because I haven't heard your views on that type of issue, do you think, as many do, that it was an inside job? Do you think it was just your basic Islamic terrorist, or what's your view on that?
Islamic terrorism.
Okay.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist.
Okay.
In my when I relate Bible prophecy to current affairs, I relate it geopolitically. Mm-hmm. And my view is that if it's going to happen, it's going to happen through the current world order, and that there's not any real conspiracy. Not that there are not secret meetings that take place and things like that. Mm-hmm. I believe also that the U.S. is on decline.
Well, I would grant you that. That seems to be the official Obama platform from 2008. There are audio and video clips of him saying that that demonstrate his disdain for the United States, and that he wants to equalize the United States with the rest of the world. In fact, one of his trademark activities is to apologize for the United States, and it seems that he's been full on moving the United States importance and role in the world down. And I'm not really sure who he expects to fill that void, but it looks like some very nasty players would like to fill that void.
What's interesting about Obama is I wrote an article on how he's giving America the final kick in the teeth. He's been called the $20 trillion man because of how he's continued to rack up the deficit. But here, in his last year, he's got proposals for like another $5 trillion, boosting up NATO. There was another, something that had to do with green policy, and just enormous amounts of money, as if he already hasn't boosted the deficit so high that we're possibly at some point after the next election, we're going to face the collapse of the dollar. I mean, how can we continue with this kind of debt? And he just racked it up, or attempted to rack it up. Oh, and let's not forget his gasoline tax that he wanted to, when everybody was enjoying the low gas prices, he wanted to tax gasoline again.
Well, I may have tipped my hand on where I stand politically with that Trump-looking hat on my website, but if you look at that, it says making the internet great again. It doesn't say make America great again. So I'm just want to clarify that. But beyond that, Hillary's platform is one where she tried to make excuses for herself in Pennsylvania for the decimation of the coal industry. She says she wants to replace those jobs with green energy. Well, I remember a community organizer who tried to replace that back in 2008 when he gave $530 million to Solyndra, who then renegotiated the loan so that if they ever went bankrupt, that the major investors would get paid and the taxpayers would get paid last. And then lo and behold, 30 days later, they filed for bankruptcy. So we've been holding the bag on Obama's green energy plan for some time. And Hillary's getting ready. She's playing that same green energy card again, which is going to go nowhere but bankruptcy. So what's your views on our basic energy policy regarding politics?
Well, like I stated, he's looking to pour a tremendous amount of money into it, and it's just racking up the deficit. It's just going to contribute to the U.S.'s decline. But the idea is, I mean, he's got the idea that it'll create some jobs. But it's so minimal. I mean, when you look at the amount of dollars that's going in there, it wouldn't balance.
And for those of you just joining the broadcast tonight on our Newsmaker line is Erica Gray of Prophecy Talk. She's evangelical Christian author, prophecy expert, and commentator. Be sure to drop by ericagray.com. We have a link in her bio section. If you'd like to send some questions in to Erica, you can click on the Fast Blast link on the left side of the website, or you can join them in the live chat going on now. Erica, I want to get to this. I don't know if you've ever seen our program, but I normally start with ranting points, and our live stream feed, they try to hack us, man. The NSA, they're behind everything. But I was going to talk about the landing of Loretta Lynch and meeting Bill Clinton on the tarmac. These kinds of acts, doesn't that show you there's collusion at the highest levels of government? And and let me just say one more thing, Eric. What's the difference between, although you may not say that's an established fact, but what's the difference between collusion and a conspiracy?
Oh, yeah, I can see exactly what you're talking about in the U.S. administration and with Hillary Clinton. I mean, the New York Post just did an excellent article of somebody who was in her inner circle, and just the things that are described about this woman, I wouldn't put anything past her. And that was the history of Bill and Hillary. I mean, just all of these, cover-ups.
Well, we have that coming on, and I guess it's important because it seems that the impenetrable fortress of the Clintons is going to usher them right into the White House. I mean, I have very low expectations that Donald Trump will make it. But with that in mind, then we have to look into the mindset of the Clintons. They're at the top of the food chain, and it seems to me as many shenanigans and unethical and unconstitutional acts that the current resident of the White House at 1600 North Penn has done, I believe that's going to be child's play for what's coming. Just looking at the type of things, and one thing you say about Obama, while being a community organizer and running around not doing nothing and not ever having a real job, at least you can't say he was taking hundreds of millions of dollars in political payoffs from countries around the world, although it's suspect who paid for his college education. That's never been established. It certainly wasn't him. I don't know if smoking dope on the beaches of Hawaii can allow you to afford a college education. I don't know how unless you're selling dope or selling your back end to the old white guys there. But so what is Hillary? So if we're looking at Hillary then as president, is she going to force Britain back into the EU?
No, she wouldn't have that kind of influence. The Europeans don't regard us like we think. They don't have any regard for us. They're on their own agenda right now. They want to build an empire. They've already stated that they're an empire. They want to say in the globe. They're actually more in competition with the U.S. So what I found right after Vladimir Putin invaded the Ukraine, we were like a joke. We went over there and we started to issue sanctions, and we were going on about how, our European partners, and yet in their press releases, there was no mention of the U.S. I believe Angela Merkel, Obama almost butchered our relations with Russia because he wanted to send arms and he wanted to send arms over to Ukraine, and he wanted to start to train the soldiers in Ukraine. And it could have ignited World War III over in Europe, and Angela Merkel had to come and rein him in. And what the U.S. is doing in Europe is trying to appear as if they're still calling the shots, they still have the say, and we are a declining power. And Hillary Clinton getting in is going to take the United States down. You're going to see the decline in the next 5 years. All of these things you're mentioning has just contributed to its decline.
And the other part of it is, it just seems to me that Hillary has established herself as a very vengeful person. I mean, if all the testimonies are true, I know there's not, say, as she would say, not one shred of evidence. There's a lot of testimony from women that Bill Clinton sexually harassed, and various, I don't know how many there are now. But there's eyewitness testimonies. That's just on that end of the Clinton crap list. But she seems to have this underlying anger, and it comes out. You can Google image Hillary Clinton, and man, she's got some of the worst, angriest looks of any person you could ever imagine. And I've always said, you can't look like that unless you are like that. Sure, somebody snapped him at an inopportune moment, but maybe she was just being real and got caught on camera, and it forever recorded those smirks and that angry scowl. But she gets into power. What kind of vengeance do you think she's going to exact on the United States? She's still mad because she probably wanted to be president before Bill. She had to take, she's always been riding a man's coattails, but she's probably angry about that. What kind of vengeance do you think she's going to exact on us?
More spending, racking up that deficit until the ceiling just comes down. And Obama's already started that. He's on his way out, and he's coming out with even more. It's a scary thing that the deficit right now is $20 trillion. I mean, that's frightening. We cannot handle that kind of debt. And she's talking about policies, continuing Obamacare, continuing with Obama's policies of spending.
Right.
So that's going to get us in an awful lot of trouble.
And right, I just think it's ludicrous that she says, "Hey, if Trump gets in, he's going to explode the deficit." Okay, like $20 trillion on Obama's watch didn't explode the deficit. I don't even know you can spend if you just threw money out and paved it in the streets, I don't think you could come up with $20 trillion. So I don't know what she's saying about Trump being able to explode the deficit, but that's the kind of lunacy that she talks about, and people eat that up. Do you think she's like some sort of hypnotist? How is it people believe her?
She's skilled at speaking. If you watch her, she is a skilled speaker, but she's been trained. It's obvious that she's got the right people training her. She is a skilled speaker, and I don't know how she's saying all of the things that everybody wants to hear. I don't even know how she has the following that she has. It's mind-boggling because she's a tyrant. It's like you said, she's a monster behind closed doors.
Yeah. I mean, this new book came out by a Secret Service agent called Crisis in Character. But what he says about how she treats the military and Secret Service, that's been corroborated for years. He just got a whole lot more of the inside story. There's the cooperation of her making Secret Service agents hide behind doors, and they don't want to see the gun of they don't want to see a uniform and running around saying "F you" in the White House. These things have been documented about the Clintons. So yeah, there's an angry streak there, and God help us when she gets in. And I don't know if the exploding the deficit is the only thing she's gonna do as far as damaging the United States. But the other thing of it is, just recently she said she's trying to pull a Bernie Sanders and says she wants to give free Wi-Fi. That's the latest gimmick now. She wants to give free Wi-Fi to the all Americans anywhere you go. There's going to be Hillary. Now here's a woman who claims that she had to have a secret server because she couldn't, and there were emails saying she couldn't even operate a fax machine. So now she's talking about IP addresses and Wi-Fi and clouds and cloud storage and stuff. Wait a minute. Now, which is it? She's either ignorant of technology or she isn't. She said she couldn't even figure out how to have 2 email accounts. Now she's talking about giving free technology out. I don't know if that's the person you want to try to give technology out. It could be Wi-Fi looking like Obamacare. That don't sound pretty good.
More money. Well, right now, the European Union, there's a misconception that Brexit is tearing apart the EU. And on the contrary, what's happening because of Brexit is the Vice President of the Commission, Federica Mogherini, just came out with a global strategy so that they can further unite and create their own army. So now they have a strategy, and the next thing is going to be an EU-wide army. They've just enacted the Common Border and Coast Guard. They are a market of 500 million people. They are economically within the world, within the G3. They are a key player around the globe. They are strong economically. But what is now happening is after Brexit, they want to go forward with this inner core. Simultaneous, they're also doing some things to work their economy. But this is why I keep mentioning the deficit and why the deficit is such a concern and why they're not addressing the deficit could end up toppling. In about the year 2020, the EU is going to be issuing its own bonds akin to U.S. Treasuries. They are tightening ship economically so that the euro is going to have more of a political basis. When that happens, if our own reckless policies do not topple the dollar, and what has kept us strong on the world stage is the fact that the dollar is used as it is the world's leading reserve currency. Once we lose that status, we are going to topple. The price of everything is going to skyrocket because now we're going to have to pay high interest on that debt. And we're going to have competition because it's already been, the green paper has already been written on the EU issuing these bonds, which are going to be more attractive to investors than our treasuries, especially with the deficit that we keep racking up. So that's why I stress the deficit, because I see that as a key issue. Marco Rubio, when he was running, stressed it as a key issue that was not, and that's where I just see she's just running amok. Mm-hmm. And she's just going to spend until one day the roof collapses and we're in a lot of trouble.
Back in 1988, Ross Perot was quoted as saying, he said something like this: "If a fighter pilot saw our deficit on his radar screen, he would eject." Well, that was 1988, and I think it was on the order of $20 billion. Here we are at $20 trillion, and the United States still hasn't collapsed. You can still go down to your local Walmart and get some bread there. Who knows where it's made? Probably made in China too. But the collapse of the economy, well, it seems to be out there. But then you go back to this Brexit thing. The prediction that the economy was going to collapse. You had Hillary Rodham out there saying, "Hey, you just lost $120 billion from your 401k." Of course, she didn't lose anything because she has all her stash in the Clinton Foundation locked away, like in a locked box, like Al Gore's locked box. all this cash she's been raking in. So she don't even, what is a 401k to her anyway? She hasn't driven a car since '98, and probably a car she stole, but or VW Love Bus with some joints in it. So the money that she's talking about, actually, from Brexit point of view, it actually rebounded already.
The Brexit, you mean what's happening, the markets?
Right. The markets recovered after Brexit. 3 days later. I wonder if Hillary's going to get on camera and say, "Oh, well, I guess I was a false prophet there."
Well, they've rebounded because they are optimistic that they're going to come, that it's going to be worked out. But we're still in very much a period of uncertainty with Brexit. nobody knows which direction it's going to go. And you've got protests today in London. It can go in any direction. We're really in a wait and see right now.
Well, was the entire Brexit episode, was that offline to the globalists? Did they not see that coming? Because I know the news media, as they were doing what we call wish casting, they were wish casting that the Remain was winning right up until they lost. So that kind of reminds me back in the Al Gore days, and when he was running for president, several elections, the media was predicting their side to win, which of course is the Liberal Democratic Party, and then they go, oh, well, somehow we got it wrong. Well, they must have got Brexit wrong. Is there anything else that they're missing?
Well, I think the reason they got it wrong is the polls were showing a little bit. I mean, the polls were showing that they weren't going to exit. And I don't think anybody expected that the vote was going to go that way. Mm-hmm. Is there anything else? That really came as a surprise. That came as a surprise to many around the globe, mm-hmm. And many leaders.
Yeah, and I'm just saying that was like a wrench in the cogs, man. Obama, man, he stopped in his tracks, and Michelle Obama, she forgot to put a dress on because she's always wearing man's pants. But listen, well, I mean, when you're a man, that's what you do. I'm just saying. You were mentioning earlier about the core EU. Is that you over here laughing? All right. Is Turkey going to be one of these core countries?
No.
Okay. Now
simple. No. Turkey has applied for membership, has wanted to be a member of the EU. I don't foresee that they will become a member of the EU. There's always been an issue because of the politics within Turkey. Turkey right now has an abysmal record with as far as human rights, and the latest thing is with journalists and suppression of freedom of speech. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So the EU, because of that, has not been inclined to go forward, and Turkey's been upset about that. Mm-hmm. But I don't see Turkey being one of those core nations.
There are
it's not even right now on the radar to become an immediate member, but it wants to. It's so it's not going to be a core, mm-hmm. one of the core member states.
Mm-hmm. Certain Islamic imams have said that women not wearing burqas has caused climate change. Others say that, such as Al Gore says, that climate change caused Brexit. Which one is it?
Neither.
There's a C? Those A, B, and C? Okay. That's what I say to Al Gore. A, B, C ya. All right, here's a question from Philip in Georgia. Erica, how does the Queen fit into Brexit with the Bible prophecy?
Well, the Queen, the monarchy doesn't have anything to do with politics in the European Union. It's actually separate. So there is no fit. Other than she can come out and state, I think it's a good idea that we stay in, or, she can state her opinion, but there is no relation of the monarchy to EU politics.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, you said that in case I didn't miss this, did you say that you don't believe Britain will be forced back into the EU? There is some, I keep seeing pop up in Yahoo and various places, and maybe probably on Facebook too, so who knows. But, that there are forces out there that could thwart Britain's exit out of the EU. Is there a possibility? Can Scotland stop them, or Northern Ireland?
Just the protest today. There's a major protest in London. It's really a wait and see. I mean, it's been stated that it now cannot be stopped, but I don't know. You've also got, like you said, Scotland coming out. Scotland wants to remain a member of the European Union. Northern Ireland wants to remain. So we really are in a wait and see period to see what's going to happen and how this is going to continue to evolve. But it has caused one major thing within the European Union. The EU leaders would kowtow to Britain. Britain had all kinds of concessions, opt-outs. It actually had an a la carte EU, and they had an arrangement with the UK that they don't have with any of the other nations because the UK was such an important member. But once Brexit occurred, now these same EU leaders became angry. And now you're either in, you're out, there's no negotiations, we want you to enact Article 50 as soon as possible. And I find it in line with Bible prophecy that there now is this anger and this attitude, because it's also making them tougher in their stance and want to go forward all the more politically with whoever wants to do it, which again is in line with Bible prophecy.
Mm-hmm. Well, in London at 5 a.m., everybody wakes up to a sound. I think now, this is my voiceover, but they wake up to a sound at 5 a.m. and it sounds like that. Okay, so we all know what that is. Evidently, Scotland is not waking up to that noise yet. Is that possibly the reason they haven't had the Syrian refugees pour in and defecate all over the city streets and smash cars? They haven't had that, so they don't recognize that's what's going to happen if they remain in the EU?
With Scotland, each country has different arrangements with the European Union. They receive different funding. The market, the EU market, may be more inclined for, Scotland may not be experiencing some of that. As far as immigration, the EU is also addressing the immigration issue. Angela Merkel even Germany, they let in so many immigrants, but now the Islamic terrorists are a major problem in the EU and something that they are now going to be addressing. I don't know what they're going to do on their immigration policy, but I'm imagining it's going to change. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Scotland may not be experiencing some of what the UK has, but also each country has different arrangements, and they don't want to lose what they have, where England would have something different. Mm-hmm.
Well, I was going to go on a whirlwind European tour, but man, I tell you what, I don't, I like my head to stay attached to my body, so I'm not planning. I'm canceling that whirlwind tour over there to Europe. But if I go anywhere, I guess it'd be England, because it sounds like they're trying to get their country back under control. But I know you said earlier, Erica, that you don't believe in conspiracy theories. So let me just get you out of this one here. Now, you don't believe then that Angela Merkel is the granddaughter of Adolf Hitler, right?
I don't believe she is.
Is that safe to say? Okay. Well, I mean, there are those that subscribe to that belief. And if you put a side by side, you put a mustache on Merkel, hey, you got something going on there. All right. So here's a question from Dreamwalker out of our live chat. Says, Erica, can you elaborate on what a collapse would look like? Would there be martial law involved? Financial collapse.
Probably. Mm-hmm. Because once the dollar collapses, the U.S. is not going to be able to keep funding all these social programs. Some of those programs are going to go. People are going to be angry. You're going to have riots. Look at what's happening in Venezuela right now. I mean, it can be a similar scenario. And yes, martial law can be enacted to control the population. We also have the issue of, there's many other issues actually, and that just contribute.
Erica, as the U.S. in its designed withdrawal from the world stage, one of those shrinking of power episodes was when U.S. Navy boats were captured by the Iranians, and they forced the women to wear burqas, and the men were there crying in a very sad state of affairs. And they grabbed our technology too, probably all kinds of secret information Obama wanted to sneak over to them. So, I mean, right there shows you there was never any response to that. Doesn't that show failed leadership?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. That whole deal with Iran was another way that Obama was chipping away at the U.S.
Well, I think actually
during his presidency.
I may have read that Ash Carter said that wouldn't have happened. That would not have happened if there were transsexuals as commanders of those boats. Well, never mind. That's what I put on my Facebook page. Never mind. That's what I wrote. Okay, never mind that. But I'm just saying. I mean, it could have. And speaking of that, Ash Carter, he wants the military to pay for sex changes. They're not concerned about, say, building a rapid response team in case say like Americans get captured in Benghazi for 13 hours. He's not interested in that. He's not interested in response to the Iranians humiliating our sailors. He's not interested in response to the Ukraine or Russia's aggression or China in the South Sea. But he is worried about getting sailors and soldiers all the sex changes and removal of items from various body parts or sewing parts on. I don't know what they do, but that seems to be what he's mainly concerned with. Is that the proper role for his position?
Oh, goodness, no. Mm-hmm. And where's all this money coming from? Where's all the money going to come from? People are already taxed to death. I mean, we're one of the highest taxed nations. Mm-hmm. I think we rank 4th in the world for the amount of taxes that we pay combined. Where's all this money going to come from to pay for all of these operations? Not to mention just the decadence.
Well, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, we're the ones that pay the military. For him to arbitrarily assume that we were going to give him unlimited funds for his transsexualization, is that a word? Transsexualization?
No, but you can make it up. It's okay.
Okay, we're going to put that in the Edge broadcast lexicon. And believe me, we got a bunch in there, really good ones. But the transsexualization of the military, and I saw somebody said that I mean, so this might be a little risque, but I mean, it could be a truth that they might actually put the things they cutting off men and then launching them in rocket launchers to the. Okay, hold on. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know
where you're going with that either.
I better back off. Whoa! I better get off the horse here. I was getting a little crazy there. I think I'm getting to a briar patch there. All right, let's get to another question as I regain my composure. Is Brexit mentioned in the Bible anywhere?
Wow, that is a good question. Okay, depending on how it unfolds, there could be the possibility that it could be, and I'm not saying this definitely is a fact, as a possibility that it could be the fulfillment of Daniel 7:8, which talks about the little horn, and then we have this little phrase which states a little one coming up among them, before whom 3 of the first horns were plucked out by the roots. Now, if you look at the UK is 4 nations. Okay, right. So it's England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. Mm-hmm. Now this is how it would be the fulfillment of Daniel 7:8. If the Brexit is permanent, those nations never again join the EU, but one of those out of the 4 stay with the EU, then it would then be 3 nations that would be plucked up by the roots. So there could be the possibility, and we don't know. It's a wait and see. It's a wait and see how this is going to evolve. And if that happens, then we know that was the fulfillment of Daniel 7:8. Mm-hmm. If not, Daniel 7:8 will be fulfilled another way. Mm-hmm. There's also the possibility that, they can protest enough and have a second referendum. Mm-hmm. And vote to stay in. So we don't know how this is yet going to go, but if it goes the way I described, then it would fulfill Daniel 7:8. I
wonder if we could talk about soft little puppies for a minute. I still have a bazooka image in my mind. All right, moving on to this question here. This is from Cleet. Erica, who specifically has been enabling the migrants into the U.S.? Who's actually behind that massive immigration?
It's our immigration policy, and the president oversees that.
Mm-hmm. Does that, when he said that when the winds of, one of his quotes, when the winds of change happen, I will be on the side of Islam. What did that mean?
Exactly what he said. He'll be on the side of Islam. He's a Muslim.
Whoa, wait a minute now. You said you didn't believe in conspiracies. That's a big one right there.
Well, he was attending a church years ago that was those teachings, or some of those teachings, inspired by them. Mm-hmm. So he's got some Muslim beliefs. Mm-hmm. But that's not necessarily conspiracy. That's just his beliefs.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I guess it would be a conspiracy or it didn't rise to the level of a conspiracy until event after event happened. And I know one that I've repeatedly said on the show, which I'm still peeved about, is when the Muslim guy in Oklahoma cut that woman's head off, And then at her the day of her funeral, Obama sent his administration officials to the mosque that this head hacker went to say what a great mosque and what a great help to the neighborhood they were. And they didn't say anything to the woman whose head was cut off. And I thought, whose side the hell are you on? Obviously not an American's. Of course, that was one of many, but I'm just saying.
Yes, one of many.
Yeah, and, and also last week I pointed out that there's a statue in Indonesia where as little Barry went to a school in Indonesia, and they've got a statue erected right outside their building there. So proud of little Barry. He was a good little Muslim there. I don't know, for most people who are a Christian, they have, I guess you would describe it as a testimony, a defined moment in their life where they accept Christ as their Savior, or they are included in the Christian family. Is there any recorded evidence that ever happened to Barry?
I don't believe so. And looking at his policy, his U.S. policy, it's as if he sits up at night thinking about how can he further destroy the United States. Oh, I know. I'm going to give everybody free education. If it wasn't enough that the Obamacare, now he wanted to add the free education for college students. I think he sits up at night thinking of these things. And as far as a conspiracy, as far as the U.S. government, it functions differently than how the EU functions. And I believe it could give way to more of that sort of thing of, behind the scenes that the public doesn't know about.
Well, it's interesting you frame it that way, because I told several people the other day, and I don't even know if the audience knows this, it was a small blurb in the paper, but Obama just put out an edict saying that every national park in the country will now be transgenderized. That's another word, and it's good. But I'm just saying, I'm thinking, okay, here we are. Brexit just happened, okay? The entire upheaval of the world order over there, the stock market issues, the continuing terrorist attacks around the world in Turkey and other places. I mean, anywhere there's a terrorist attack going on. And he comes up with this stuff. Hey, we got to change every restroom in the entire country in every national park. And I thought the same thing. Does this guy just sit around and think this stuff up? Is there a group of people? What kind of crapzoid stuff can we change and destroy the moral fabric of this country? That's his concern. I don't get, that's his focus. He's focused on sexual issues, and it'll only be because, one, he's gay, or two, his wife's a man. Probably both. I don't know.
An issue that has not been talked about or discussed in the U.S. media has to do with TTIP. Have you started looking into TTIP?
No, how do you spell it?
Oh, okay, TTIP is the transatlantic trade. It is going to be the most comprehensive trade agreement, and it's going to be with the United States and the European Union. And what Obama is doing in TTIP is hair-raising, because they're protesting over in Europe because they don't like what's called the Investor Dispute Resolution Clause in TTIP. And your conspiracy, the documents are in secret. WikiLeaks exposed them. So this whole TTIP thing, but the clause that, and we probably know a lot about it because they're protesting it in Europe. And because nobody knows about it really here or is paying a lot of attention to it here in the States, they want to give corporations a tremendous amount of rights that would whittle away at literally whittle away at U.S. democracy, because the corporations would be able to sue, they would be able to sue states and countries. Mm-hmm. And they could literally bankrupt just from those lawsuits. And why he would want to give the corporations that much power is beyond me, and taking it away, and also taking, again, more tax dollars to fight these big corporations who are upset because maybe they want to drill oil, but in this particular county they can't. So now there's a lawsuit, and they feel it's now affecting big business. That's a big thing in TTIP, and in sometime in the future, I'm going to focus some articles on it and what the real agenda is there, okay, which is scary, again, for U.S. Citizens.
Okay. All right, Erica Gray, we're Prophecy Talk. We're right at the top of the hour here. We take a 5-minute break. Anything you'd like to say about your future writings, books, or website, you go right ahead.
Oh, definitely subscribe to me on my YouTube channel, Prophecy Talk. Follow me on Twitter. And right now I'm working on a new book, and I'll have a series of videos on decoding the Mark of the Beast, decoding 666, the Mark of the Beast, which has some information that is riveting.
Okay. All right. Well, you just stay right there on the line. We're going to turn you off here out of videos, and we'll be back with you in 5 minutes. All right, everybody, you're watching and or listening to the Edge television broadcast. On our Newsmaker line tonight is, of course, Erica Gray of Prophecy Talk. You don't forget, you can also go to our website there, and you'll see how to link to her website. Be sure to follow her on Twitter and get some of these amazing writings that she has done. She's well known. She has over 61,000 Twitter followers, so be sure to follow her on Twitter as well. We're going to take a 5-minute break. We're going to be right back.
I am Erica Gray. I am a journalist, commentator, and analyst. In biblical terms, I'm a biblical magi. Jesus said in Matthew 23:34, "Therefore, indeed, I send you prophets, wise men, and scribes." A biblical wise man or woman are essentially analysts. Herod consulted the wise men when there were no living prophets. When I relate Bible prophecy to current world affairs, the commentary and correlations that I provide fit geopolitically and are based on research from key sources. In addition, I shed light on the prophetic word, which holds some of the Bible's greatest mysteries. As both an analyst and a journalist, I offer insights that are neither rehashed or found anywhere else. Look over my site, my articles, books, and be sure to watch my YouTube videos and subscribe to me on YouTube. Also, follow me on Twitter and like me on Facebook.
Enlightening, entertaining, and controversial. This is the Edge Radio program with your host, Daniel Ott.
Olson was the number one in all Edge history of YouTube video views in the first week, garnering over 23,000 views. Such a demand to have him back. So he will be back next week. Speaking of being back, let's go back to our Newsmaker line and join back with Erica Gray. Erica Gray, welcome back to the program.
Hello.
Well, I'll tell you what, this is an interesting first half there, but we're going to dive down deep into these, into the EU. There seemed to be this sort of globalist. In fact, they're calling or describing the battle between Trump and Hillary as the populist or nationalist against the globalist. Clinton is clearly a globalist. She wants. Her husband came up with the NAFTA thing, pushed it through. She was for it before she was against it. And of course, the various other trade agreements that are out there, TPP, that she's recorded 23 times as saying she's for it. And all of a sudden, she's backing off because crazy Bernie was against that, and she's seeing that Trump's getting some traction from that. So all of a sudden she's trying to back off that. But being a globalist, that would mean that you're for this European Union for them to solidify their block of power, for the Americas to solidify their block of power, for the eventual merging of a one world order. Does that Brexit, does that put the wrench in the hole? Is that slowing it down at all? Will there be other countries that follow the UK's lead in that?
Well, first a comment about NAFTA. We followed the European Union. We started to mirror what they were doing. I believe that was the motivation, because we saw that they joined economically. They started to become this economic powerhouse, and then we followed suit. As far as Brexit, I believe that, well, again, we have to see how it unfolds. But what they're talking about doing is, yes, going forward with political union. And there was a meeting called by the Spinelli Group of Federalists. Now, in the EU, what you say is globalist here is called Federalist there. Mm-hmm. And it's not the U.S. type federalism. It is the ideology that drives the EU, and it's the idea that the nation state is no longer capable of running the affairs of the people, that we now need the world state. So the EU is actually, its policy and laws are actually modeled on those of world institutions. And the idea of federalists years ago was that the EU would act as the cornerstone for uniting the globe. So what you're looking at with Hillary, I'm seeing happen in the EU and with their globalists there. Mm-hmm. But yes, Brexit, I believe, if it ends up fulfilling 7-8, then England will end up being weakened as a result of not being on the bandwagon of the global economic union.
Speaking of following there, it seems that the United States is following Europe in that they're trying to be as liberal or more liberal than Europe is. And I see, of course, the criminalization of opposing viewpoints of the Islamic immigrant wave, and various other things where the government is clamping down on free speech. So the United States seems to be following that. Do you ever see in this country in the near future a criminalization of those who are outspoken against illegal immigration or Islam in general?
Oh, that's definitely a possibility. The world is getting so crazy because we're in the end times. It's getting so wicked. It's so evil. You have lawlessness, which is, they're calling it laws, but it's really not laws. It's lawless. Mm-hmm. And I see that as a real possibility. Mm-hmm. Yes, agree with you.
Speaking of lawless, the chief law enforcement person in the country, Loretta Stench, when she was meeting with Bill Clinton, from a prosecutorial point of view, that is an egregious act of impropriety for the lead prosecutor or the person who will decide the fate of a criminal prosecution, even if it takes place, to meet with the defendant, in this case, so to speak, husband. I mean, I talked to a former U.S. attorney today who said to me that as a U.S. attorney, they continually got information from the Justice Department. You'll have no conflict of interest. You'll not violate any ethos or even have the appearance of partiality in any case without judgment of any character issues at all. You remain strictly with the facts. He said they had to take courses, and this guy was in the top 10 U.S. attorneys was telling me this. So you have to take online courses. They're continually signing documents. And then here's Loretta Stench doing this in front of millions of people and in the most sensitive, highly politically charged case ever in the United States. And she's like meeting with Bill Clinton. How is that? You talk about lawlessness. What does that say to the people of the United States about law in this country?
It just affirms how lawless it is. And U.S. law is just so convoluted. There's so much red tape, and it is so complicated. And they can't, judges making decisions, what you just cited, the situation you just cited, It is. It's lawless. We're in a lawless society.
And that goes on to say how it meant throughout the Obama administration, back to the Bill Clinton initiated Defense of Marriage Act. The Attorney General at that time said that he wouldn't enforce it, and the president said he would disregard it. It's like, wait a minute. It's not your choice whether you decide to enforce something or not. It is your job. The people voted on it. It's law written. It's codified in law. You have an obligation to enforce the laws of the United States. And they're picking and choosing what laws they want. And they sat on it, kind of like Hillary's been kind of waiting it out in her email by holding back all the information and dripping it out to try to make just fizzle out the whole deal rather than being indicted. She's trying that wait them out type thing and bore them to death. But that's the way that Obama did until they got the judges in place to change it to their direction. So it's been lawless for some time.
Oh, yeah. And we're seeing more and more of it.
All right, let's get to this question. This is from Jade, our moderator, who's moderating our chat. It says, you've already mentioned, other than what you've already mentioned, does Brexit tie into prophecy in any other way?
In adding more impetus to the political union of the EU and possibly Daniel 7:8. And we don't know. We're still in an unknown. We don't know how it's going to eventually affect the markets as these changes go forward.
So as far as the EU then rising into power and setting the rules for the world, where does Russia and China play into this end time prophecy scenario?
Well, we see Russia, we see a king of the north in the book of Daniel. In Jeremiah, we also see a king of the north. I believe that Russia is going to remain Russia. We see the Ezekiel 38 invasion. And where does it play? I wrote an article initially when Vladimir Putin first sent troops to the Ukraine, that the conflict was really a conflict between the European Union and Russia. Because if you look at the EU is about 508 million citizens. It was waving a flag in Kyiv. They were waving their flag. They were about to sign an association agreement, economic. Russia wants the economic relations with Ukraine. They're signing, they're about to sign with the EU, and the EU was waving its flag. Now, if the EU had an association agreement with Ukraine, Ukraine is the second largest landmass in Europe. Not only is it the second largest landmass, it's also got, I believe, the largest army just by virtue of the size of Ukraine. It is a border country of Russia. This was what Vladimir Putin, I probably was one of the only writers who came out defending him, basically saying that geopolitically what he did, I would have done if I was leading Russia. Because if you look on a map of how much landmass the EU already has, and now add Ukraine, there's not going to be much. I mean, it's monolith, and the EU's talking about a future with its own army. So, but what we needed to do was stay out of it. And we sent in, prior to the flag waving in Kyiv, we sent in a puppet government, some right-wing guy, and we're playing old Cold War games. We had no business doing it. All we've done is incite Vladimir Putin, when really, that is one thing I do like about Donald Trump, is Donald Trump wants to kind of restore relations with Russia. It's another potential market for the U.S. And all the Obama administration is doing is Keystone Cop type of foreign policy over there. He was sending nukes over to NATO facing, it's like, why is he inciting the Russian bear when Russia's not doing anything to us? Mm-hmm. And Hillary also came out with some really wild accusations that Vlad was like Hitler and all this stuff. And the guy has been in power for like 15 years. And the only thing he's done is go into Ukraine. And I can totally understand why. You have us setting up a puppet government there. You have the EU waving its flag. That's important territory. And so I wrote an article stating that this was a rift between Russia and the EU. It's your first rift in your age of empires, because right now, geopolitically, we're in the age of empires, and it was empire to empire. We had no business issuing sanctions, wanting to beef up NATO, and the Europeans really don't want us anyway.
Just a final thought on Loretta Stench, that and not probably blocking the indictment of Hillary Clinton. And I think one of the underlying reasons she won't is because Loretta Stench has some nasty cankles like Hillary does. But let me ask, something.
Let me make a note about Hillary's dress.
Oh.
She's got a wig. Did you hear about her $12,000? I believe it was an Armani $12,000 jacket.
Yeah, it looked like a rug.
Yeah, the thing was like if you're going to dress, I mean, she's wearing like somebody compared her to the North Korean Kim Jong-un. She looks just like him, but in the female version. Yeah, wearing the same type of trench coats.
I know, right? I mean, it's like, wow, man, are you kidding me with that thing? You know, and she's talking about she's you know, her statement is I see. We're supposed to say, I'm with you. We're with Hillary. Well, are we all going to get those nasty cape-looking things that she's wearing or not? I mean, you know. Besides that, there's testimony that she has hair on her feet. But I did want to say, for those of you just joining the broadcast on our Newsmaker line, we have Erica Gray of Prophecy Talk. In the first hour, I was discussing with Erica the transgenderization of the military, and I just want to use that in a sentence again. So anyway. What you got it going? You got to keep it going. All right. So we're talking about the military buildup that you suspect is going on right now. The Chinese are building up in their military in the South China Sea. That has kind of been off limits to them for a while. Why won't Obama stop that?
Because he sits up at night and he thinks of ways that he could really destroy the United States. That's why. Just like you said, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to start figuring out that this man must just be thinking of things at night on what he can do. And even on his last year, I couldn't believe the proposal after proposal to just rack up that deficit even further. So yeah, he just, that's why. Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I mean, talk about racking up the deficit. I don't know who Hillary expects to pay for the free Wi-Fi she's trying to offer. I mean, really, it's so Bernie of her to offer that. You know, who knows what else she's going to come up with? She's desperate. But I tell you what, I was talking to you in the first time.
Well, the free Wi-Fi, and this goes into my next book on the mark of the beast, that could also just be a way to track everybody. You know, the NSA is in everybody's conversations. Oh, did you ever see Anonymous? Anonymous had a great video. It was a Christmas video, and it was about the NSA, and they did a spoof on the song, on the Christmas song, and you better sit tight, you better not. And then they had, because the NSA is knows all about you. I mean, it was just hilarious, and it was so true.
Okay, well,
the NSA is coming. You know, the NSA is watching your Skype. You know.
Well, I'll tell you what. That's probably why we had some connection problems earlier, Eric. Anytime we get down into it and somebody can make a difference in this world, which apparently you do, they're going to try to hack into us. But the power of God is greater than all the forces of hell that they can muster up. I was talking with you in the first hour about the vengeance that we expect Hillary to exact on the United States. Is she going? How is she going to flood the country? I figure she's going to have to flood the country with Syrian refugees. She's talking 65,000, but we all know that's going to be more like 650,000 or probably 6.5 million. How are they paying these people to come over here on these plane flights? Who's giving them the cell phones? Who's giving them the new backpacks and clothes? Who's financing all that? Where they come from? Most of them are living in rocks and rubbles and blown up areas. Somehow they're getting on a plane and flying all over and have a good old time. But who's paying for all that?
The taxpayer, the struggling single mom who could barely make ends meet. It's all the little people and the middle class and the upper class. Everybody's paying for it. That's who's paying for it. We're paying for it.
Mm-hmm. I'm wondering, you talk about that $12,000 Armani cape-looking thing, Kim Jong-il cape-looking thing. Do you think that money came from the Clinton Foundation?
Yeah, she probably. Mm-hmm. She's having these very expensive, ugly jackets made.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and I was mentioning that U.S. attorney today that I was talking to. He was saying, remembering that Obama had said that that Hillary has not violated any crimes. How could he know that unless he knew the facts in the case?
Because he's biased and he's already going to try to defend. He's probably bought.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I would imagine so.
The other thing I can't figure out is, how do you have a first man in the White House? That doesn't make any sense to me. When Bill becomes the first man.
Oh, okay.
Have you given thought to that?
Oh, I thought you were talking about Michelle. I'm sorry. Look, when
Bill becomes the first man.
She's got a package. There's no doubt about it. There's too much video out there. But yeah, I mean, Bill Clinton, back in the White House, are they going to? How are they going to secure the interns? Keep them away from him. I don't get that.
I don't know. Well, we already know where the interns are going to be. They're going to be in and out of his room or his office. Mm-hmm. But Hillary, this is scary. Hillary is this woman is a monster. Now you're going to give her power. She's going to become president.
Mm-hmm. The recent photographs of Bill Clinton, he's looking, I mean, his years of cocaine use with that big old knobby nose of his and yellow teeth and very, sags around his eye. I mean, the guy's been doing drugs. He's been living the party lifestyle, going to Pedophile Island, with various folks. He's going to get in office. Is he really secretly hoping that he'll have an opportunity to become president again?
No, I think he's hoping for his wife to become president and him to get back in the White House so he can chase those interns.
Mm-hmm. And you think that at some point they're going to try to put him ahead of the UN? Is that one of the plans?
I haven't given thought to that, mm-hmm. of what her role for him, what his role as first man might be.
When Obama went to Canada with that kid in charge of Canada, I don't know, how old is that guy, like 19 or something? And then, of course, the Mexican drug lord running the country of Mexico, the president of Mexico, they were yelling 4 more years. Is that possible?
No.
Well, constitutionally, the Constitution has never gotten in the way of Obama's will, has it?
No.
Just saying.
Good point. I
mean, that boy.
But I believe that one he can't. He has pushed the envelope over the envelope everywhere he can. Mm-hmm. He's been the closest probably to like a dictator that we've ever had with his executive orders, but I don't believe he can go in for another term.
Okay. In relating to end time Bible prophecy, with everything we've been talking about, where or should we expect that there will be the prophesied mark of the beast?
Oh, the mark of the beast. You'd have to read my next book. But the direction that technology is going is just absolutely frightening. Mm-hmm. The new technologies that are becoming more affordable. There's the Brain Project. We're all on this. The United States and Europe are both on the bandwagon for the latest technologies. And you had the Human Genome Project, which was international. Now it's the Human Brain Project. DARPA now is experimenting with putting chips inside of the brains of soldiers so that they can read each other's minds. There's some really scary places that the mark of the beast is going potentially, and you'd have to read more in my book.
Okay, all right. But suffice it to say, though, if you had a choice between taking the mark of the beast and, say, being able to buy groceries, what would you do? Or did I got to read the book?
You got to read the book. Can't take the mark of the beast.
Okay.
Where the technology is going, it's more than just a payment system, and it's frightening. And it may even tie in as to why she wants to give away this free Wi-Fi.
Well, now that, I mean, the mark of the beast is out there for sure. So, and I imagine you've got some very good insights on there, Erica Gray. But the fact that it does come out, shouldn't that say to believers that this is a verifiable fact mentioned 2,000 years ago, proving the authenticity and God-breathed words that are in the Bible? Therefore, the rest of the Bible is absolutely true, and they can trust it. And in fact, trust it so much that when it says, you may end up in the gates of hell if you take that it will be better to suffer without it than to go to hell with it.
Oh, absolutely. And just the signs of the times right now, that as you discuss the things you're seeing in U.S. politics, the things we're seeing across the country, across the world. If you're a believer and you're a Christian, you need to be sold out for the Lord Jesus Christ, because there's not a whole lot of time left. And if you don't know Jesus, you need to know him. You need to accept him as your personal Savior to escape this coming tribulation, because it's only a matter of 4 or 5 years probably that we've got left.
All right, for those of you,
it's just a guess, but something in that time. In other words, it's not going to be a whole lot of years that we have left on this earth. I mean, the signs are just everywhere.
All right, so basically you're saying during Hillary's term.
I believe during Hillary's term, we've already got Hillary winning. You don't think Trump has a chance?
Well, actually, I think he has a chance, but I think back to conspiracy theories, there is something out there, Erica, you may not be familiar with. It's something called the Clinton body count. Just saying.
Heard about I see what you're saying. Yes, heard about that. I did hear about that.
Yeah.
Yes, that conspiracy. Yes,
hey, let's
going on.
Let's go to reality. Here, just recently, I can't remember. Somebody's son was just poisoned. Who was that?
Chuck Norris.
Chuck Norris's son was poisoned. Are you familiar with that story?
No, I'm not. What happened?
I guess he was where was that?
His own movie, American.
Yeah, okay. He was at his own movie, Amerigeddon, which I've got to see. I guess it's not playing in Indianapolis area. But somebody came to him, Chuck Norris's son, and said something in his ear, touched his neck, and he nearly died with poisoning. And they have said that whoever touched his neck poisoned him with something on the skin, and he nearly died. So those, of course, you've got, Breitbart, who was murdered, and, various other people that have fallen away, that have challenged the status quo, particularly making challenging accusations against the Obama administration. So, I'm just saying on there, hopefully that won't happen. But for those of you just joining the broadcast, on our Newsmaker line, of course, is Erica Gray, an evangelical author, prophecy expert, and commentator. Be sure to follow her on Twitter and log on to her website, ericagray.com. So, Erica, you talk about an eye on YouTube, an eye on the EU and YouTube. What goes on in your YouTube channel? What can people expect to see there?
They can expect to see commentary on current events. My next book that's coming out, you could either purchase the book, or I will have a series of videos for each section or each chapter of the book, so you can learn about the mark of the beast. There's a lot of things I'm going to be talking about that book, such as DNA change, what the Human Genome Project has done. I reveal some hidden scriptural truths about being numbered, the frightening significance of that in the Bible, the seed of Satan. All these things are discussed. Also the frightening scenario where technology is going, the technology that exists for the image of the beast. So that's all on my YouTube channel. I have videos on different videos on Revelation, the seventh and eighth head identified. So from commentary to everything dealing with Bible prophecy.
Okay. And for those of you also joining the program, didn't get a chance to do my ranting points, I will be doing ranting points directly after this interview with Erica Gray. Erica, on your website, you've got an article said the U.S. is going down after the election of Trump or Clinton. So are you saying that there is a pre-programmed event and it is preconditioned on after the election?
Not an event, but as the EU is going to go forward, what we are going to see is the U.S. decline. And I believe that Obama has already contributed to the decline of the U.S. And we know that if we get Hillary and Trump, while he has a couple of things that I like in his foreign policy, I think Trump can be problematic. And either one of them, I think, are going to just end up tipping the scales, completely tipping. And it may not even be, it may be out of their control. It may just be what happens.
I see a comment in the live chat from Eddie Wilson. He said that the dead bodies in Clinton's history are a conspiracy fact, not a theory. And that is true. You can directly, without any wild-eyed conspiracy, running through the forest with a aluminum hat, tinfoil hat on, you can say that at least 70 people that have been associated with the Clintons are dead for one reason or another, whether it be heart attack, falling out of an airplane, shotgun blast to the head, fire with the right hand when they're left-handed, hangings, accidental 100-pound boulders falling on head, car.
Oh yeah, no. When I say
blowing
conspiracy,
up, boat flipping over. Asteroid dropping out of the sky. I mean, go ahead.
Asteroid dropping out. When I'm saying conspiracy, in other words, there's no conspiracy for a final world empire. There's no conspiracy for the Antichrist to get in power. And that's where a lot of the conspiracy theories go. The Rothschilds, the bankers, the Bilderbergers, all conspiring. There is no conspiracy for world government. You can join the organizations. They're open organizations that you can join. They're open to everyday people for the ideology.
So is there such thing then as the Illuminati?
I don't, it's not in any of my writings. I show geopolitically how everything is happening and how just in the ideology of the European federalism, it's right there, things that fulfill prophecy. Your federalists are your globalists.
Well, you can go to Starbucks and get an Illuminati latte. So, that may be out there. When we're looking at the undermining of America, obviously to bring in world government and the globalization that they want, America has to be undermined. They have to be disarmed, and that I think that's the one last line of defense that the ordinary citizen in America has against their own government, just to maintain arms in their possession. I'm not talking about armed uprising. I'm just talking about self-defense. Of course, those that want to take the guns away all seem to be surrounded by guards with guns. It's kind of like the hypocrisy of Mark Zuckerberg building a 6-foot-high wall around his $135 million mansion in Hawaii to the consternation of his neighbors while declaring Trump's wall is racist. First of all, does that make Mark Zuckerberg a racist too against his Hawaiian brethren over there? And two, how is it that you think they will get the guns?
Either through world law, or I'm surprised that Obama hasn't tried to do that during his presidency, because he overrode so many other things. I'm surprised he didn't already try to do it. But I think that it's eventually maybe through world law.
By the way,
I see the U.S. is going to decline. And once the U.S. declines and the EU moves forward or moves way ahead of us, and they're the global leader, at that point, we're going to be under them and we're going to be kowtowing to their rules. And that's probably the point you'll have these changes. And we're already joining this TTIP, this comprehensive, one comment on globalization. Globalization is happening. It's just it's almost coming about naturally just through the way that commerce works, technology. So it's not conspiratorial because it's just happening through the natural evolution of technology and the economies being interdependent.
To the American citizen, globalization means simply give up your job for somebody who wants it. By the way, those of you in the live chat, if you have a favorite accidental death method from the Clintons, I see plane crashes in there. So those watching the live show in the live chat, just write in there one line. What is your favorite accidental death that seems to happen to Clinton's associates? All right, moving on, Erica. Putin has been. He's had several jets fly by the American Navy vessels. There's been no response to that. Does he realize the vacuum that Obama is creating, and he's saying, I'm going to step in? Is this a sign that he will rise to power and take over the security of the world like in the way that the United States used to do?
Well, I think we're antagonizing Vlad. We're antagonizing him. I mean, we're taking NATO, we're beefing up NATO, we're pointing missiles at Russia. What are we doing that for? Russia, if you listen, Vladimir Putin had a letter he wrote to the American people that was published in the New York Times. He would like to work with the United States, but oh no, we can't have that. We've got to, create him as an enemy. And one thing I also like about Vlad is, when it came to this whole, gay rights thing that was sweeping the globe, he wouldn't have it in Russia. He would not, and he didn't care about public opinion, and he would not, he has stood firm, and he stood firm with the Orthodox Church in Russia.
That is true. I was getting ready to say, I believe a couple of years ago, he committed $500 million to rebuild churches that the communists had torn down over the years. Some have actually said, and again, going back to he's not putting up with a lot of Muslim crap, nor is he putting up with a lot of transgenderization of the citizenry there. But there's that word. I love it. It works every time. But some people have actually said that Putin seems more American than Obama.
Yes. And what are we doing? But we're antagonizing him. Obama wants to build up NATO. For what? The EU is building their own army. They stated about 20 years ago that they didn't want to rely on NATO. NATO is defunct. It lost its purpose at the end of the Cold War. Mm-hmm. And they're not even they want to form their own. That's why they have Federica Mogherini just came out with her global strategy for their foreign and security policy. So I don't know why he's wanting to beef up NATO. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was almost a joke if you saw what was, unfolding between Russia and the EU. Okay. And we're going over there and we're making speeches like this is our issue. Mm-hmm. Just more taxpayers' dollars that's getting thrown away.
All right. And by the way, my request for the chat viewers, of course, not everybody that's watching the show is in the live chat, but those in the live chat, we've got some favorite accidental deaths from Clinton relations. We have this one here. Let's see what I saw it up in here. Falling asleep on the train rail and getting your head cut off is somebody's favorite there. Bloodless suicide, aka Vince Foster. Here's one. Anthony Scalia, pillow on the face suicide. So you have been a lot of interesting views on how people accidentally just go away that happen to only have one thing in common, that's knowing the Clintons, unless you take the rap for it and go to jail for them, like some have done. Erica, what would you recommend people do? You mentioned 4 or 5 year window. Obviously, it sounds like it's within the Hillary Rodham administration. Bringing down the country. Things are going to be put into effect to bring this country down, as you say, even on your website. Is there any preparation that you recommend? Or do you subscribe to the idea that people are going to be what Christians say, raptured, kind of float away and not have to deal with it?
I think that if you're a Christian, if you don't know Jesus, you need to come to know Jesus as your personal Savior. We are entering very dangerous times. The terrorist attacks to people just doing random acts of violence. I watched a video of a man, just this elderly man, just go up to this 80-year-old woman and kick her in the head. And I mean, it's just the things that we're seeing. I think we need to be close to Jesus, praying a hedge prayer around our families. And that's the first order of business. And it wouldn't hurt to have some disaster supplies as well. Mm-hmm. And not only that, you're also forgetting the natural disasters. You know, the natural disasters are now happening at such an unprecedented rate that, you know, your home can get wiped out in a flood, in a earthquake, you know, as those things start to, you know, people have already lost to the tornadoes and different things.
I just got this from our Fast Blast. Diva L says, Clinton enemies have also been known to get nibbled to death by ducks. So, well, that's interesting sort of death to get nibbled by ducks. Seemed like a tickle at first until you realize you don't have an arm, you know. So, you know, crazy ducks. But I'll tell you what, I wouldn't mind, say, if they had like an otter part where they send otters out to you because they're so cute, you know, otter kind of. Anyway, all right, moving on. I don't know what they had to do with anything. I just thought about otters, maybe because my last name's Ott, but that's why it's my favorite animal. All right, so how long should you're describing a sort of prepping, which even Department of Homeland Security says people should prep for 3 days for national disasters. So that's
not only that, I have all my files are now electronic. I have everything in the cloud. Because then I don't, if anything happens and I have to vacate or you have to whatever, how many stories do you hear? And they lost everything. A tornado happened, and there went everything that was important. And now you can do electronic files pretty easily but through your phone. You can make a PDF. Just snap a photo, make a PDF of a file. So I believe in that. Minimalist. Japan now has minimalists, which because of the earthquake there, they just have in their homes the things that they need. So they're abiding by now this minimalist philosophy because you don't know. And so all these people with all this stuff, well, what are you going to do if you lose it all because of a natural disaster or, you know, a collapse and we have riots and all kinds of things like that going on?
Well, it was only 100 years ago that everybody used to have something called a root cellar, and it was common practice that, you know, you had it stocked with food. Now, of course, we rely on the system to provide us, and there's only 3 days of food in the system. But that being said, how long do you recommend people prep for? What length of time should they be able to live off grid or whatever? For how long?
Well, that would. I'm not sure really about that. I mean, it's always ideal if you can be if you can be more self-sufficient, but it's not practical. And you don't know. I mean, the times are getting so dangerous. You can walk out and you could be a victim of road rage and you're shot. Mm-hmm. You know, it's becoming like that. Mm-hmm.
Erica, you mentioned putting everything in the cloud. Some of the prepper websites, they have food in there. You know, they've got filet mignon, they've got cookies, they've got brownies, and, you know, so that you don't get bored, you know, and they've got all this stuff. And in the pictures of it, it shows this happy family sitting around. They've prepped. And here they are. Oh, happy times. Look at the delicious food that we can have. And I'm thinking, if it comes to that, that's not going to be happy time sitting around the table singing Kumbaya with your pepper meal with seasoned rice and awesome vegetables and Kool-Aid. It's going to be, man, there's people coming at you with guns. That being said, when you talk about the cloud, that cloud must exist.
Well, there's also another issue you're failing to think of, which is the Zika virus and Ebola. And there's a company, they make Zika suits. They make actually these suits where you can go out and not get bit by a mosquito. You may even need to have something like that as part of your disaster kit. I mean, it's not just the collapse of the U.S. and riots and things. It's all other things that are also occurring. And we just don't know how bad things are going to get before the start of that tribulation. We don't know.
But I think that around the consensus around is that there is going to be some sort of collapse, some sort of inevitability. But what I mentioned in the first hour with the $20 trillion deficit with numbers so high, you could pave the entire roads of the United States with dollar bills, still have money left over. So, these numbers are out there, and bread is still $1.98 at Walmart. So what is it that, on what order is this collapse going to happen? What is it going to be like that day they announced years ago, that the mortgage companies, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, all of a sudden just woke up and realized they were $50 billion in the red? Is it going to be like that?
We don't know. It could be a sudden collapse. The Federal Reserve is all their policy has been just experiment. They don't know what they're doing. Mm-hmm. They don't know what they're doing. They're just guessing. Well, we think this will work. Mm-hmm. Well, we think this might work. The economy still hasn't come back. I'm in Connecticut. Connecticut is really, we're still hard hit here. There's no jobs in Connecticut. Our population has not grown. Mm-hmm. Our state is in an awful lot of trouble.
Mm-hmm. It's not run by Democrats, is it?
Yeah, there's a lot of Democrats in the state, but our state's in a lot of trouble. So we're not. I mean, they're not feeling any recovery. Those numbers, are disputed. The economy, the world. I mean, the U.S. economy has not really come back.
Mm-hmm. Just under the chapter title, "Just Saying," here in Indiana, we're swimming in money. We're in the black. There's a rainy day fund, jobs, unemployment at the lowest rate in 40 years, and we're just getting a lot of jobs from our neighboring Democratic-controlled states. So I don't know. Maybe it has to do with who's in power. But Hillary Clinton says that she wants to be able to sue gun manufacturers. Isn't that a backdoor method for gun confiscation?
Oh, absolutely. Well, again, in Connecticut, after the Sandy Hook shooting, we have some of the toughest laws. Now, to never before, if you bought ammunition, now if somebody buys ammunition, they have to be a certain age, show a card, be a certain age. That was never the case before. Mm-hmm. So we have some of the toughest laws here. But yeah, absolutely, it's trying to destroy those companies.
What does the Bible say about self-protection, say being armed? Should somebody be armed, or should they use prayer?
I'm not. I believe that the Bible defends the right to defend yourself.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any specific scriptures you remember that says?
The scripture of Peter when he had a sword and he cut off, and Jesus told him to put his sword back. And I believe that in the Old Testament, mm-hmm. You have the idea of murder, mm-hmm. But self-defense is another issue. The Old Testament, and so I believe that citizens do have the right to protect themselves and to own arms if they want to own arms.
So would it be kind of like in the movie Saving Private Ryan, the American sniper who say, Lord, guide my shot that the bullet will hit my enemy right between the eyes?
Well, I'm of the view, they talk about disarming people, but I'm of the view that if some people were armed, they might have stopped some of the things that were happening. Like even look at the airplane that went down at 9/11. And, if someone was armed on the flight, that would not have happened. Mm-hmm. So I tend to agree with those arguments and have read some of those stories, mm-hmm. but you don't hear those stories making big news when you have somebody that is able to defend against something that's about to happen that can take a lot of lives because they happen to have a firearm on them.
Right. It seems like every major shooting in the United States happened in a gun-free zone. In places with really strict gun laws. So neither one of those. But, I did mention before on the program, Erica, that there is a bright spot when you're looking at the Pulse shooting, the Islamic terrorists that shot up the Pulse, that gay people are beginning to arm themselves. They're no longer relying on the government. I think they came to the shocking realization that they are not in the top of the food chain in the Democratic liberal establishment, and they are beginning to arm themselves. Well, the more people that are armed, the better off, and they will hopefully then join those that are trying to strengthen the Second Amendment rather than undermine it.
Well, the other thing, too, about guns is, they look at guns, but if you take away guns, you're still going to have knife attacks. You're going to have homemade bombs. Where are you going to stop the violent person? And somebody with a knife who goes into a crowd is just as deadly as somebody with a gun. I mean, you've heard those stories where somebody just goes crazy with a knife and all these people get stabbed. So what are you going to do next? In other words, if you have a violent person who is determined to harm you and harm a bunch of people, they'll find another way. Mm-hmm. So guns are not the problem. The problem is people.
Mm-hmm. Do you find it odd that Hillary Clinton said that about the shooting in Florida, that they need stronger gun laws, and if they had them, they could have prevented it. But the killer also had an unexploded device. Shouldn't she also say there needs to be a law against unexploded devices?
Well, that was probably minimized.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing
and also Hillary Clinton, they want to make like they can do something. The problem is the Bible predicts that up until the start of the tribulation, that what begins the tribulation is that society becomes so wicked that God has to judge it. The problem is sin in society. That's what is happening. And all the gun laws in the world, all the confiscation is not going to change. That we're in the end times. They're wicked, and the crimes are not going to stop. They'll just be committed another way. But it makes people feel good. It makes people feel really good to think, hey, we're going to get rid of guns, and the world's going to be safer. Yeah, right.
It seems like there's an incremental increase in wickedness, although Obama is pushing in large swaths to legitimize and institutionalize evil. But so if you're talking about a vengeance of God, are we going to see sort of the incremental judgment, or are we going to see massive judgment?
Well, after the start of the tribulation comes massive judgment, but also after the start of the tribulation becomes even greater wickedness, so that now, the Antichrist is going to launch the campaign against anybody who does not take the mark, which will be Christians, and seeking their annihilation. And the people are actually going to want their annihilation. Mm-hmm. And when the last Christian is killed during the tribulation, there's this 30 days, this mysterious 30 days until the end of the tribulation. And that's when the bowl judgments come. And the book of Revelation says that they wanted blood. And this tells you how bloodthirsty they're going to be for Christians during the tribulation, that they wanted blood. And now 2 of the bowls judgments turn all the rivers, oceans into actual blood. Then the sun is going to be scorching heat. So you'll literally walk outside and you will get burned severely just going out in an instant. And there will be no water to quench anybody's thirst. And according to what's stated in Revelation, it's the Lord's retribution for now what was done to his people during this time. So this wickedness that's already starting now is a sign of what is predicted, and we're going to see it culminate and then be judged by God. But I do believe what you stated. There are some many, things happening. I mean, people aren't just getting away with things.
Mm-hmm. Well, for instance, say like the Ebola virus or the Zika virus. These are sort of the quickening of the judgments, the escalating these sort of pandemics and violence, of unleashing evil. You've got higher grades of drugs now with people running around streets naked, killing people and eating flesh. And so is this the escalation of evil in and of itself, or is that the escalation of judgment?
What's beginning to happen is the signs that we're seeing in nature. And yes, I believe that like Ebola, those are signs. Those are signs of, hey, you better get your life in order. I'm here. The earthquakes, the tornadoes, the record-breaking tornadoes. But what's happening in the ecosystem naturally now is it's starting to go out of whack, and it's actually preparing for the judgments. And you can see that as a prophecy watcher, you can see that and say, wow, this is preparing for that famine that's coming. It's like you're beginning to see the signs in nature while we're still here before the rapture that are going to lead to that famine that's predicted as one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. The beasts, they're just animals are going to kill people. And we're starting to see some of that. So that's also very, very, very much a warning.
Where it says a penny for a loaf of bread in the book of Revelation, talk about the tribulation. In our time, that would be, what, $100 for a loaf of bread type of thing?
I'm not sure, but it'll be very expensive. Mm-hmm. And we're already seeing in the ecosystem the weather extremes. And what's a joke is that the world leaders think that climate change is something that they can control, that they can control this. This is global warming. It is not. We are seeing the changes in nature that Jesus predicted, that he said we would see. But the changes that we're seeing, you could see already that these things, as they continue, are going to lead to like major famine. Mm-hmm. So we're already seeing that process in parallel with the escalation of the wickedness.
Mm-hmm. Kind of reminds me of that scripture that says that that Satan wants to be God. And so when you come to climate change, you're basically suggesting that those that believe that in some way they are so great that they can control climate change because they will sit in the power, of the chair of God, because they are God in other words, and therefore we must take our mark of the beast to submit to that.
Well, the mark of the beast, they're doing the same thing. Science is following the same thing. They want to mimic the human brain where you can upload your memories to a computer. They want to mimic, and they also believe that you can achieve immortality, that they're going to achieve immortality. So you see this Tower of Babel mentality, both in technology, this whole idea that the climate can be controlled. What? That you can enact a law that can change what God is doing in nature, that it's because of emissions, because of the gas and carbon, and that's nonsense.
So now we've painted a bright future. Erica, give us some hope here. What's our hope?
Hope is in Jesus Christ. The hope is, if you're living for this world, you're probably worshiping Baal. And what did the Lord say to Elijah? I have 7,000 who have not bowed the knee to Baal. And if you follow Jesus, you'll have the peace in this time, and you will be grieved by what's happening and looking forward to his coming. That is the hope.
Mm-hmm. The scripture that I was thinking about, I believe, is in the King James. It says, talking about the Antichrist, it says, who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called God or that is worshipped. So he that as God sits in the temple of God, making himself appear to be God. That certainly sounds like either Obama or the globalist New World Order. One of those two sounds like a perfect description.
It's going to be a particular leader who will come up. And I teach that he'll come up through the European Union.
Will this person have the desire for women or not have the desire of women?
I take that verse as will not have the desire of women was man. When in the Genesis, the Lord judged the serpent and then judged the woman, he said, and your desire shall be for your husband. So the desire of woman is man. And I believe that what it's saying is he's not going to regard any man. And this brings in the whole Islamic issue. You have the evangelical community is divided. Some believe there's going to be a worldwide Islamic caliphate. But I believe the Antichrist is also he's going to annihilate world religion, any religion that opposes him. But he's especially going to go after the true believers.
And he will probably continue the transgenderization of the world.
Yes.
I got it in one more time.
Got it in one more time.
And then after after the fact, then we could say that the world has been transgenderized. So that's another part of that. It's like in a thesaurus the Edge broadcast thesaurus. All right, Erica Gray of Prophecy Talk. I appreciate you coming on the broadcast. Any final thoughts, comments, website, upcoming book, anything you want to mention, talk about?
Yes, please go to my website, www.erikagrey.com. Follow me on Twitter, subscribe to me on YouTube, and you're going to want my next book because I reveal some things that are just hair-raising, why the mark of the beast guarantees hell. It's not just a payment system. It's a very scary scenario during those times. And also you're going to want to learn about the DNA change, the seed of Satan, and some other things that are being discussed among people who follow the mark of the beast, and some things that have not yet been revealed.
Okay. What's the time frame for the book rollout?
Hopefully I'll have it within a month, but I'll have videos so that if you don't want to buy the book and you just want to view the videos, you can view one after another. Okay. And the book will, of course, make it easier if you want to view it that way. And then each article or each section of the book will also be published on the website.
Okay. All right. When that comes out, can we have you back on the show again?
Absolutely. You're going to want to see parts of it. You're going to be like, some of it is not yet been revealed and is very scriptural, and also what is happening in technology.
Okay. All right, Erica, how'd you like being on this program tonight?
Liked it very much.
All right. Very good. I appreciate you coming on the show. We'll have you back on again, Erica.
I will look forward to it. Thank you.
Right. Good evening. All right, everybody, that was Erica Gray of Prophecy Talk, talking about the coming catastrophes upon the planet. If you missed this exciting broadcast, it will begin to replay in our main player, so stay tuned for that. And then it'll also come up on our YouTube channel, and we'll put it in our TuneIn Radio playlist, where you can listen to this program again in all of its edge glory. Next week, we're going to have with us Steve Olson. Be sure to come back for that. That program begins at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The show always starts, we usually turn on pre-show about 7:45. Well, we had a technology issue, talking about technology, can't live with it, can't live without it in the beginning of the program, but I really wanted to get to ranting points, so we're going to have an after the show ranting points, and let's get this thing up online. I've got a couple things to say. And welcome to the Edge Television broadcast. This is the ranting points of the Edge show. Well, this week, one of the most egregious criminal acts ever had to do with Loretta Stench, the Attorney General, meeting with Bill intern Clinton on Jet there, discussing what they described as talking about the grandkids. Can I say bullshit? Can I call bullshit on that on the air? Can I do that on the air? Because I'm going to. I just did. Okay, look here. Here's something you did not know. Let me give you a little big background. Here we go. I'm charging up, I'm reared up, I'm pumped, I'm amped, and I'm throwing down. Okay, I'm going to go ham up in here. Okay, I'm going to go ham up in here. Look, Bill Clinton knew that Loretta Stench was flying in to the airport there, and he purposely delayed his flight out. Now, what you may not know is that the Secret Service saw that as a security nightmare, both sides, because they both travel around in their gigantic entourage with their black SUVs paid for by the taxpayers of the United States, protecting them while they try to disarm us. So we're protecting them, and they're talking to each other, say, hey, we can't have this big melee out on the tarmac of the motorcade over here for Bill's intern Clinton and Loretta Stench over here. Okay, but no. Well, they were advising against it. They wanted Bill Clinton's plane to leave for security purposes, but Bill refused. He delayed his arrival to the airport because he knew Loretta Stench was there. So he gets there, and Bill Clinton, he just starts walking across the tarmac toward Loretta Stench's plane, creating a security nightmare. Because you know why? Because he had to talk about his grandkids, man. It is a national security of importance for a half hour to talk about the grandkids. I got one question for you, Loretta Stench. Name Bill Clinton's grandkids. Okay, somebody got crickets? Right here is where you want to have crickets, okay? I bet you can't. I bet Loretta Stench cannot name Bill Clinton's grandkids. Why? Because here's what. Bill Clinton appointed Loretta Stench in her early days that prepared her to be nominated by and appointed by Obama to be in her position of Attorney General right now. Okay, so he doesn't have to say anything. All he got to say, hey, Loretta, remember me? When I wasn't doing interns, I was appointing you. Wink, nod. I know Hillary's going to be okay, right? Wink, nod, thumbs up. That's all he had to say. Any prosecutor in their right mind would have recused themselves right then. She should have just said, get off my damn airplane. Okay, but no, she didn't. She had to hear what Bill Clinton had to say. We got some pictures of that too. Let's bring that on up. Let's bring that up. What we got? Okay, well, maybe we don't, because I don't want to put it. Okay. All right, here's one. Here's one right there. Look here. Snakes on the plane. That's right. Bill and his appointee there, Loretta Stench. Okay, colluding. That is exactly what happened there. And it's just ridiculous that she was able to do that. He caused a security nightmare. What you also may not know is that the Secret Service and the FBI tried to stop everyone from using cell phones and taking pictures of that event. Why would that be? They're only going to be talking about grandkids. What impropriety, conflict of interest, and I'm calling collusion right now. She is in charge of that, whether or not Hillary is investigated or not. She should not have been put herself in that position, compromising Hillary Clinton's indictment. Look here now. Here's Bill Clinton on the left, and there's Loretta Stench on the right. Now, one could say, hey, Bill Clinton just simply wanted to know how he could have a big old flat hair head like Loretta Stench. I mean, he just looking over there. He said, hey, I got white poofy hair and I look like Skeletor. How can I have great hair like yours that looks like it's combed on the side, something flat there, like it's something sitting on that thing? Maybe that's what it was. Maybe that's what the conversation was all about. I don't know. Maybe it was this. Maybe he wanted to know if Loretta Stench wanted a duplicate of Hillary's $12,000 coat. I don't know, but it's something even better than that. Maybe Bill Clinton wanted to know. Oh, yeah. What is this here? Well, remember Hillary Clinton said she deleted 30,000 emails? Well, that she said that was just her yoga schedule. Well, if Hillary Clinton was doing yoga, she was doing something, a pose called downward facing whale. And this is a replication. This is how Hillary Clinton would look if she in fact was doing yoga. Maybe Bill Clinton asked Loretta Stench if she had a copy of Hillary Clinton's yoga schedule, because this is what she would look like if that's the case. No, I'm telling you, this was a fraud from the very beginning. There was collusion here, and yet another Hillary Clinton scandal. My friends, if she becomes president, it's going to be like this all the time. Scandal after these people, they cannot do anything without a scandal. Who wants this person in the presidency of the United States? A scandal ridden. Is that the best the Democrats can do? Somebody with 30 years of crap, 30 years of scandals, and they're continuing yet today. What kind of BS do we have to put up with for these people? Maybe Bill Clinton, being being a Skeletor looking dude, maybe he was suggesting to Loretta Stench, say, hey, you got these massive looking cankles, got black hair all over them things. Maybe he was saying, I can give you some tips on how to be an ugly looking Skeletor like me. I don't know. But somehow, something tells me that he was talking about the inside information that Loretta Stench has on Hillary Clinton's investigation, because Loretta Stench has been talking to the head of the FBI. She knows exactly where that investigation is. This is a fraud. And look here. Okay. You do not want to end up looking like this here. Look at this guy, okay? Yellow teeth, sunken eyes. Man looks like the Skeletor death warmed over. He's a piece of work. He's a piece of crap. There ain't no doubt about it. And somebody wants this person in the White House. What's this right here? Let's laugh with her. This is what she says about the investigation. You're not going to get me. Hell no. I'm Hillary Clinton.
Look, we came. You
Saw? They died. Let's clap with him.
You saw?
There we go.
You died.
Everybody. Oh, there she is again. There she is skating across there. Hillary Clinton. Woo, she's a riot. What a piece of damn work right there. We came. They died. They're talking about their friends, the insiders. They weren't talking about, oh yeah. Yeah, you want this woman as president? Are you kidding me? Let's bring it all out. Oh, yeah. Hillary Clinton, yeah, she gave up on men a long time ago, okay? She gave up on men a long time. She got Huma now. There's Huma right there all dressed up in her normal garb when Hillary gets home from a hard day's work, and she gets real lonely because Bill, he's on pedophile island, and he got him some little girls and everything, and Hillary's just, she's had a rough day. She got a lot of inside emotion to deal with, and she needs some good old loving from Huma, and them two get together, and the things that the military cut off to create transgendered males into females, and she gets one of them, and they get hooked to them, and there they go, and they get up, because everybody needs some good loving, and that's all Hillary wants. Is that what you want? I don't know. I'm just saying. And so there you go. Randy points right there. Yet another scandal with Hillary Clinton. Unbelievable. Loretta Stint should recuse herself, allow appointment of special prosecutor, but she won't. She's a Bill Clinton appointee, telling Bill Clinton exactly where that investigation is. So the timeline is this. On Monday, Bill Clinton walks across the tarmac, creating a security nightmare to go talk about grandkids. As I said, it's probably really about the yoga schedule, right? The one that she deleted. And then Thursday, the Justice Department says they want to hold back incriminating Hillary emails for 2 years. Yes, they said they petitioned the judge to say we don't want to release these for 2 years, clearly until after Hillary's elected. And then now now today, Hillary Clinton is investigated by the FBI. She can call it a security review, but the FBI does not do security reviews. She is under investigation. She said she voluntarily talked to the FBI. Yeah, well, if you volunteered to talk to the FBI, why did you wait for the invite? Why did you wait for them to schedule you in? Why didn't you just call them up and say, hey, I'm Hillary Clinton. I want to talk about this email. Get this thing behind me. Just give me a date. No. You didn't volunteer for nothing, okay? You were ordered in there, and I don't care what kind of bullshit spin you're talking about and all your people. You were ordered in there, and hopefully they're going to nab you. This has been Edge Ranting Points. And now back to the end of the show. Appreciate everybody logging in. Don't forget to stop by next week. Tell a friend about the program. Daniel Otts for The Edge. Bye-bye.